Hey everybody, it's Captain C.A. Richardson from Flats Class YouTube. In today's tip, I'm going to share with you how these rod specs can make you a better angler. So rod specs, what are those? Well, rod specs, quite honestly, they're the numbers that are on the base of the fishing rod above the handle and between the first stripper guide. And they'll have things on there like lure weight, line weight, length of the rod, action of the rod, things like that. When I'm choosing an area to fish, I kind of have an idea of what lures I'm going to throw. And I pack my tackle bag according to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you why you should have more than one rod with you at all times. I know that's a little tougher for waders and kayak guys where one or two or three rods are pretty normal. So you'll have to try to pick what you exactly want. But for those of us that are skiff or bay boat anglers, we have the ability to take 8 or 10 rods. And many times I try to limit myself to 6. But I want to show you the differences between what lures you're using and what rods you should be using them with. So casting and manipulating the bait will be much, much more effective. So let's take a closer look here on my little workstation on my whiskey barrel and talk about what lures will best work with what rod actions. All right, we're going to make this a part 1 and a part 2. I've got 4 baits here. I've got the 3/4 ounce in lure weight. This is the Top Dog Junior from Mirrorlure. I've got the 1/4 ounce chatterbait, but believe you me, it's more than a 1/4 ounce diesel minnow chatterbait from Z-Man. By the time you weigh that extra tail in there, you add the blade, you're probably just under 1/2 ounce. So it's a lot heavier than you would think. Thirdly, I've got the Mirrodine. This is the 17 MR. This is my mangrove honey custom bait. This is a true 3/8 of an ounce bait. It's a suspender, and then I chose a 3/8 bucktail with a smaller hook. This is a Hank Brown's hookup lure. If you look at the Falcon Clearwater rod here, it's a 7-foot medium heavy. Flexes medium fast, line weight's 10 to 20 pounds, and the lure weight's 1/4 to 3/4, which would accommodate every one of these lures. It's a 7-foot rod, so it's comfortable to throw topwaters on. So on the surface, all of these lures would work with that rod. Here's what I'm telling you. They will not cast nearly efficiently unless you really choose the upper end of these lures, which is the top row. This rod's going to be ideal for throwing topwater. It's the right length, it's the right weight, it's the right flex. It's got just enough to flex and to walk that dog. It's also a great rod to throw a chatterbait on. And you'll notice this is closer to a 1/2 ounce. This is a solid 3/4, robust hooks on both where you need that medium heavy action. This fits all the criteria for this particular rod. Unfortunately, the bucktail jig and the lightweight Mirrodine, the 17 MR, they're probably not going to be nearly as accurate to throw with this particular rod, even though it says it could throw them. That's why I'm saying, when you're looking at rod actions and you're looking at lure weight and line weight, you really need to focus on what lures you're throwing. Now let's talk about the rod that will throw the Mirrodine and this little 3/8 bucktail quite easily. All right, friends, here's what I chose for part 2. I chose a Falcon Buku SR rod. This is a 7-foot rod as well. It's medium action with an 8 to 17 pound line weight and 1/4 to 1/2 ounce lure weight. It's a true medium action rod, which means it's going to throw 3/8 lures right in the middle of its sweet spot for lure weight, like the Mirrodine and this 3/8 bucktail, ideally. And because it's medium flex, it's not going to pull the hook. It's going to easily set the hook on those 2 baits. Now I could throw the chatterbait, which is probably going to be a 1/2 ounce right at the top of the range. What's going to be tougher is because the chatterbait has a more robust hook and it's going to require a better hook set. This rod may not be the ideal rod, and it's going to be at the upper end of the lure weight on the rod, so it may not cast quite as accurately. So that's why these were better with the Coastal Clearwater rod that I showed you in part 1. I could throw that topwater if I had to. The problem is it's not going to cast nearly efficiently when I overweight the rod at 3/4 of an ounce. This is why I like to keep 4, 5, 6 rods minimum in my boat so that I'm not constantly limited or changing lures. There's a lot to this, and if you want to become a better caster and a better angler where you're not missing fish because you're choosing the right actions, the right lure weight, and the right line weight, you're going to be doing a lot better. So what did we learn here? We learned that lure weight, line weight, and the action on the rod in the rod specs will determine really what lures you're going to be able to cast and manipulate best. So always think about that when you're switching baits in the heat of the moment. If you want to be a more accurate caster, you're going to have to understand rod actions and all those rod specs. It's going to just make you better. Just keep practicing. All right, I hope you enjoyed this tip from Flats Class YouTube, and I want to share with you all that we are bringing some online classes to Flats Class University. This is going to be a new online fishing school that we are launching in about mid-October. No, we're not stopping our live classes. The live classes are going to continue, and we're going to make those in unique venues that really suit the classroom style. But for those of you that just want to learn how to fish, especially light tackle saltwater, I think you're going to enjoy our online classes. Are going to be easy to digest, and they're going to happen on a fairly regular basis starting in mid-October. The first one is going to be redfish for the artificial angler. So all you redfish fans from Texas, along the upper Gulf Coast, through Florida, and up the Atlantic seaboard, all the way to Virginia, you're going to enjoy this next class. All right, thank you for your time once again, and thanks for supporting Flats Class YouTube. Please subscribe and share with your friends. Until next time, Captain C.A. Richardson, signing off.